we are, Lawyer Talk off the record on the air, coming at you week in, week out with all sorts of content. Today we are dusting off an old series called DUI 360, and you can check it out, by the way, the old episodes on DUI 360 at lawyertalkpodcast.com or wherever you get your normal podcasts. They're back there in the archives, in the annals of DUI lore, or Lawyer Talk lore. You will find the DUI 360 series. What is DUI 360? Well, DUI 360 is the idea that we, upstairs when I represent folks charged with DUI, we take a 360 degree approach at DUI defense. We don't just do it for the cause of beating DUI cases, and we try to educate people on what they're facing, how they might be able to get out of it, what the consequences long term of DUI is, or consequences are, and some of that involves sort of the nuts and bolts of DUI defense and what things mean and what they don't mean. And today, there's lots I could say about all of these topics, but we're trying to break them down and make them simple because I like to make things simple, and almost everything I think can be made simple. We're going to talk about the eye test, the fabled eye test. In my world, we call that the Horizontal Gaze Nystagmus test. This is the test, and the reason this came up, by the way, is I had a client recently call me, and I'm representing this individual in court. He's charged with OVI. That's what we call it here in Ohio. And he says, I think I passed the field sobriety test. I think I passed the eye test. And every time I hear that, I don't mock people, of course, but it tells me how misunderstood the eye test is. So the eye test, again, it's called HGN, which stands for Horizontal Gaze Nystagmus. And anybody who has seen if you just Google HGN, you'll see cops on the side of the road holding a pen out in front of a poor guy on the side of the road who's been pulled over for DUI, and they're running a pen back and forth horizontally across his gaze. And the reason that I know people don't understand it when they tell me they passed is because it's involuntary. You wouldn't know if you passed it. Now, here's how this works. They are looking for something called nystagmus. And nystagmus is a generic medical term, I'll suppose, for a jerking of the eyes. So people's eyes flutter, and it's as they follow the pen, it's jerky and it's not smooth. Now, there are other things that cause nystagmus. Alcohol is one of them. It has to do with the fluid in your eyes, et cetera. But alcohol can cause nystagmus, or being under the influence of alcohol can cause nystagmus. There are other forms of nystagmus. Fatigue, too much caffeine. Some people just have it naturally. If you happen to be an albino, believe it or not, albinos tend to have nystagmus, so I'm told. So there's other reasons for nystagmus, but the police are trained on horizontal gaze nystagmus. And what they're doing is basically checking for your eyes as they follow the stimulus and how much they jerk. And there's 2 or 3 clues they're looking for, or 6 clues total, but they on both eyes. So they're looking for a lack of smooth pursuit. They pulled a pen out at maximum deviation, meaning as far as you can go and still see the pen, and they'll check for your eyes fluttering there. And then early onset of nystagmus, meaning how soon do your eyes start to jerk as they get closer to 45 degrees, as the pen gets closer to 45 degrees. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because this is a test that you don't know if you passed or didn't pass. You have no control over this. This is a completely involuntary function. So if you happen to, look, we're getting close to the holidays. So if Uncle Bob is too drunk at the Thanksgiving dinner, go get Uncle Bob and say, "Hey, Bob, come up here. Let's check your eyes." And you don't have to be a professional to do this. Hold a pen, about 15 inches or so from Uncle Bob's nose, and tell him to look straight forward and only move his eyes, and go back and forth very slowly. And you will see a jerking. Now, if you don't recognize it and Bob's drunk, try it on somebody who's not been drinking, and you'll see the difference. It just happens. And Bob may say, "I'm totally sober. I'm fine. I can pass this test," but he can't. Now, how accurate is it? I think there's something called the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, we call it. And they claim years ago, they did a bunch of testing on this, and it's like 88% accurate if performed correctly by the police, which is a big if. But I don't know how much stock I put in that. I don't know how much stock I don't put in that. This is one of those tests, though, that, and this is probably true of all field sobriety tests, they give the police a vocabulary to describe how much or how impaired they think you are. So they can say, "Look, we did the HGN test on this guy. We got 6 of 6 clues. So therefore, that's a strong indicator that this gentleman would test above 0.10. Now, that's a whole nother topic, but when the tests were created, they were designed to determine if somebody would test above 0.10. People sort of rug sweep the fact that most BACs now, or limits now, are 0.08. Nonetheless, the test is still valid. It is still used widely and regularly. Now, here's the other thing you need to know about horizontal gaze nystagmus, other than the fact that you can't tell if you passed it or not. In Ohio, anyway, you can say no. You can just say no. You do not have to take the HGN test. You don't have to take the other two standardized tests, walk and turn, one leg stand. You can just say no. Now, you can say no to a breath test, and people say, do I take a test or not? That's another DUI 360. But rarely do people ask me if I have to take the field sobriety test. You don't. The police don't tell you that, though. It's sort of like a Jedi mind trick. They say, here, come on over here. We're going to do some field sobriety tests. And people just sort of step right into the lion's lair, and they start taking the test. You can say no to those in Ohio, and there's no consequence to that. Likely, you're going to get arrested. But let me just sort of tell you, if you think you might not pass, or you think you're going to have some trouble with it, don't take the test. Meaning, if you've had anything to drink, you don't need to take those tests. And it's probably a good thing that you don't, because what you're doing is, again, you're giving the police evidence to use against you later. Nonverbal evidence, visual evidence, observational evidence that not only they observe, but is also on their body cameras and their dash cameras, typically with a cruiser. There's all sorts of ways I can defend against the HDN test. I can take it apart. I can take apart the science. I can cross-examine police. I can point out when they didn't do it correctly. Recently I had one where the police didn't do it right, and I took this guy apart upside and down. But the fact is, I would rather not have to do that. I would rather not have to defend against it. I'd rather not have them be able to come into court and then rely on our challenge to the test. I'd rather the jury just never hears it. So anyway, if you've got any questions about DUI defense or anything else, by the way, check us out at lawyertalkpodcast.com. You can send us a question there, or you can send us a question in the comments below, I guess, or check us out on the socials and send us a comment there. Or if you happen to need help with a DUI case or an OVI case here in Ohio, that's easy too. 614-224-6142. Palmer Legal Defense right upstairs. I'll be happy to help. So until next time, this is Lawyer Talk off the record on the air. Hey, Steve Palmer here from Lawyer Talk. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Check us out, all our social media. Like, share, interact, ask your own questions. We're here for you.